this is to show how technology has changed business over the past few years. In the music business or the recording industry, it has changed due to, of course, computers. Things used to be done on analog tape machines, and they required a massive amount of work. Every time you do a recording session, you would have to align these tape machines and line up tapes, and tapes were extremely expensive, like $250 for a reel. And now you can get all of it on a computer program, similar to this one. It's called Pro Tools. And with it, you can do anything that you want to do that you couldn't possibly do. You couldn't possibly do on a regular old analog machine. What am I doing here? You can edit that out, can't you?
Yeah.
Good. May have some editing to do. So, where's my template at? I guess I've changed my template. Well, let's open up a program and see what happens here. Anyway, the editing skill, the best thing about technology is the editing skills. You can make an amateur that's got a halfway decent idea into a professional using one of these. Whereas before, you had to be able to play. There's no way around it. Here, you can put somebody in tune. You can knock them out of tune. You can even have programs to where the computer is actually even playing the instrument. You don't even have to be able to play. All you got to do is just be able to arrange some things in the computer, stuff like GarageBand and a Mac, and some of these things, programs, they're already pre-sounds in there and pre-chords and things that you do to make music with, and you can just start slicing and putting it all together. Whereas before, if you wanted to slice on an analog tape machine, with tapes you actually had to cut the tape and put the tape back together and tape it back together and cut a splice. So here, all you have to do is just click. You can do anything you want to. You can take an entire region, which is these are regions. This would be a let me just find something here. Such as a bass line, we'll say a bass line. You can solo the bass line and listen to it. Well, you used to have to be able to play, but the guy that laid this bass part down here put it down on a keyboard. And if he made a mistake, all you have to do is just highlight it, just like a word processor. And you can copy it, move it, paste it, slide it back and forth, put it in time, out of time, any way you want to. Before, in analog tape machines, that was impossible. You had to actually play the songs, which can make amateurs into pros real quick. You know, you can just do a lot of things with it. In fact, here is a drum track that I have spliced and cut to actually just to clean it up. Microphones pick up everything when you mic a drum set, and if you don't want the noise in between, such as here, I've got a tom, and let's see, what have I got going on here? That's solo, here we are. I don't know if you can hear it, but there's a tom lick. But you hear cymbals, you hear the entire drum kit here. Well, this is just a tom track. So what I want to do is, if I want to, I can just highlight that, clear it off, and all I have left is just that drum lick when it comes in. That's it. When it hits it, of course you can still hear some of the cymbals and all, but it's clean now. And you can do incredible things with technology. You can make things sound really, really good just by playing around with them. And that's the entire drum track. I can move it up. That's another good thing. So you can see that by cutting and splicing, you can have a real clean track. Whereas before, like I said, with analog, that could not be done. It would take. Sometimes I've spent 2 days just working on drum sounds so that there's not much bleed over from one drum to another. The mics are not picking up everything quite as much just to make a drum sound good. Now you can just pretty much put your mics where you want them, and you can clean up the tracks. A lot of editing involved, but and it's best to have a good track anyway. As far as the business of it goes, recording's a lot faster. You can actually do a session in half of the time, simply because all you do is pretty much just hook your mics into it, run it through the board, and just make your recordings. But technology has just made it incredibly easy, and I'm thankful for a lot of that. I do not miss working on tape machines, but this is just a incredible. First time I saw this, I fell in love with it. It made my life a lot easier. It made it so that I could actually write and arrange songs or do whatever I want to by myself. And if you make a mistake, it's not a big deal. You can actually go in and change a note. You can do anything you want to with it. And that's just one aspect of this program. There's another part called MIDI, M-I-D-I, Musical Instrument Digital Interface, where you can hook up to electronic instruments. A lot of hip hop and stuff like that is just all keyboards. You can do things with your voices, auto tune, just a lot of things you can do that was just impossible 10 years ago. And 20 years ago, it was almost unheard of. But it's a remarkable tool, and it's a lot cheaper. The main thing it's changed in the business is it's made it possible for people to have really nice studios in their homes. Whereas before, a good analog tape machine would run you $50,000. The board to hook everything into it would cost you probably close to $50,000. And then all of the things it took to make it sound good, reverb units, delays, and all of that outboard gear was another $50,000 to $100,000 worth of stuff. And now for, well, counting monitors, speaker monitors and amplifiers and stuff like that, to have really good stuff for $10,000, you can build as good a studio as would cost you $200,000, $300,000 20 years ago. And that's made it possible for a lot of people in their homes to cut records without going to a studio and paying $250 an hour in a studio. They can actually just sit home and work on them for as long as they want to for the price of just buying a studio. So that's actually changed the business in a positive way in that direction. In the other way, the major studios are going out of business because they're not needed that much. So it is a positive and a negative. It impacted the big studios greatly. Hundreds of them went out of business because of you can do this at home now. So that was that's a you can figure that for yourself if it's good or bad. I think it's good. It was good for me. So what else you need, man?
Could we see the rest of the studio?
Sure.
All
Absolutely.
right.
This is the control room. This is where you do all your recording, the waves and stuff like that. You listen back, you do your editing, adding all your sound effects and make your music. This is where the magic happens, actually. This is where you make the music sound good. Out here, in the other room, the bigger room, this is where you can put all your musicians can come in here and do what they want to do. You can have live drums in a big room, which sounds one way, or you can go in and have drums in an isolated booth, like this set, and they sound entirely different. Because these microphones will pick up the sound of the room. Even talking in here sounds different than it does out here. It's like walking into an empty house where you get a lot of reverberation all over the rooms. In here you don't get that. You get just tight drum sound. The drums you heard in there just a few minutes ago with this set here. But if you want a more lively sound, you put a set out here in the big room. And it sounds entirely different. Hook up the amplifiers, run your bass into the control room, have a singer just sit out here and sing, have his or her scratch vocals, they call them, which you sing with the band on a separate track, and then you come back. Of course, that microphone picks up everything. Then you come back and sing, dump that track, you get rid of it, and you sing on top of the music. That way you get a clean vocal track without any bleed through from other musical instruments in the rooms. And that's pretty much it. You just, as far as making a record, the key to it all is knowing how to use microphones. And that's the rooms and the microphones. You have to know how to mic them up. They're not just, I did say a while ago you could put them almost anywhere, but you can't put mics almost anywhere, really. They have to be in the right spots to make a great recording. You could just stick one or two up in here, but it wouldn't sound anything like if you had somebody in here moving microphones and you were in the control room listening to them as they hit them, and you say, move it here, move it there, whoa, hold it right there, lock it down, that's the best sound. And mic all these drums up to where they sound exactly like you want them to, tune them very well, and then make sure that the bass is comparable to that. Then you can just tell them play. And if they do it once, that's fine. If they do half of the song good, the other half there's mistakes, and if it's identical musically, you can just cut and splice and put it to the other side, and then you can just cut and splice and add the chorus, the bridge, and verses. You can swap them around in Pro Tools real easily, which you could not do with tape. I've got an analog tape machine, but I don't want to ever use it again because of technology.
Well,
So what else do we need to see?
that's pretty much it. I've actually run over my time.
Have you?
Thanks a lot, Paul, for showing us around down here.
You're more than welcome. You might want to do some serious editing. I'm no speaker.
Eh,